Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Maria.
I want to first talk about these subpoenas to Hillary and Bill Clinton. When are you expecting them to come in to testify under oath?
Yesterday, preferably.
We've asked them to come in October. We've given them specific dates.
Oh, my God.
What makes these subpoenas special and historical is that...
We did know that. I actually shared that last week. There was an entire list. James Comey's going to be subpoenaed, a whole bunch of people. Loretta Lynch, James Clapper, I think, is on the list. I don't know if John Brennan's on the list yet. I think he might be. So there's a lot. There's like 10 different individuals who have been subpoenaed. And Hillary Clinton is the second to last to be subpoenaed. And, as far as the date to show up in front of Congress. And Bill Clinton is the very last one. I was very happy to hear that Bill Clinton is the last one because they're going to get all of the testimony from all these people first with regard to the Epstein files. And we all know that Bill Clinton, he's been to Epstein Island plenty of times, if not at least on the Lolita Express. We do know that. We know the flight logs. We've seen the flight logs. So that's going to be really interesting to hear what Bill Clinton has to say after they have gathered all of the evidence, well, at least the testimonial evidence, before they drag in Bill Clinton. So that's going to be a banger.
They came as a result of a bipartisan vote. The Democrats made a motion, like we knew they would, to subpoena the Epstein documents, which Republicans support. Scott Perry from Pennsylvania amended that motion to include subpoenas for both Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as 6 former attorneys generals, and the Democrats voted for it. Now they're scared and trying to say they didn't vote for it, but they did. It's on record, and that helps us in court. If the Clintons try to fight this subpoena,
they
which
keep
we
saying release the
presume
files, right?
they will,
let's get everything out.
This subpoena came as a result of a bipartisan vote, which has never happened before in the House Oversight Committee. So we're looking forward to hearing from the Clintons. The American people want to know what went on Epstein Island. We know Clinton went there many times. We just want to ask Bill Clinton what he saw when he was there and who all was involved.
Well, I mean, look,
absolutely.
There's a lot of information to be gained from an interview under oath with Hillary and Bill Clinton, that's for sure. Would you also get into Russia collusion?
I certainly hope so.
Well, we would like to ask about that. I'm sure their lawyers are going to be negotiating the terms. The subpoena was issued a few days before the Russia Collusion story really broke. But certainly we're going to ask as many questions as we can ask. This is an opportunity to get the Clintons under oath, which people have been trying.
Well, yeah, honestly, I think the whole Russia collusion thing is going to be a hell of a lot more damning than this Epstein whatever that's going on. I'm all about releasing the Epstein files, but if I had to choose between the two that are more important than the other, it's obviously going to be the Russia issue. That is way, way more damning than the Epstein files thing, which I totally get it. They are both extremely important because with regard to the Epstein case, Epstein Island and all that, there's over 1,000 victims that were underage at the time when all of this happened. So it's horrific, especially knowing that we've got well over 300,000 illegal immigrant children that are still missing. And the Trump administration, they've already found it's over 10,000, maybe 15,000 that they've been able to locate at this point. But that's a drop in a bucket when you're talking 300,000 children that are missing. And none of these people have been indicted with regard to Epstein Island. So all of these, who knows how many people are out there doing God knows what. You can only imagine the atrocities that could be happening. So, yeah, absolutely the Epstein situation is important. However, are we going to get actual indictments? Are we going to get people who are actually going to go to jail with regard to this? And where the fuck's the client list? Now, we know that there may not be a client list with regard to bribery and blackmail. They said that. But I still think there's a client list. I mean, there's a flight log. There's flight logs. Why wouldn't there be a client list? So Jeffrey Epstein, he abused 1,000 women all by himself. Nobody else helped him do that. I mean, come on, man. Give me a fucking break.
To do for a long time. So hopefully we'll be able to do that, and we'll get answers to a lot of questions that the American people have.
So you say that they're going to be fighting this. You think this is going to go through the courts?
I would be shocked if it did not go to the courts. But again, one thing that stands out is this bipartisan vote. We've never had that. I've been chairman of the House Oversight Committee for a year and a half, Maria, and I've never lost a subpoena battle. This is the toughest battle that we're going to face is getting the Clintons in here. But again, that bipartisan vote, and I want to thank the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee.
Dude, that's so fucked up, man. Okay, well, obviously we all know that the Clintons are guilty as hell for just about anything they're accused of. Of course, it's not been definitively proven, but it kind of has, depending on what you're looking at. for them to fight tooth and nail to come in and answer questions over things that are just, it's beyond obvious that it's happened. Why would they be fighting tooth and nail if they did nothing wrong? If they committed crimes, then yeah, I guess you would expect them to fight tooth and nail to try to prevent themselves from coming in. But come on, man, you all have been locked up here in this whole political game for their entire adult lives. And for them to try to stonewall and try to weasel their way out of speaking in front of Congress about what they are directly involved in, if not the ones that are up near the very top pulling all the strings. I mean, it's fucking insane.
Voting
I mean,
for that
look,
subpoena.
It's to be expected, I guess.
Look, another tough battle that you've got in front of you.
I doubt they're going to be hopscotching into fucking Congress.
President Biden's 4 terms, 4 years in office. And what was going on there? I mean, it was all very simple and clear for everyone to see that he was, struggling in terms of his mental capacity and this use of the auto pen.
Yeah, we know his mental capacity was not going on at all.
Before President Trump.
We know that wouldn't happen.
Well, it looks like a very small inner circle of no-name unelected bureaucrats. They had a tight reign.
Yeah, it wasn't the
over
Biden
Joe
administration.
Biden.
It was the bureaucratic
didn't allow
administration.
A lot of cabinet secretaries like
That's
Pete
who was in
Buttigieg to
control.
have access to Joe Biden. They certainly didn't allow the White House press corps to have access to Joe Biden. When he did come out, he was very scripted. And
wasn't that fucked up, man? Like Joe Biden, he took questions from the press almost not at all, especially just an impromptu press conference like Trump gives practically every morning, especially during his first term, man. Trump's first term, every single morning, no matter what the press would say about him during the day about Russia collusion, he's a Russian agent, he's best buds with Vladimir Putin and all that shit, he still would talk to the press every single morning around, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning in front of Marine One. He took questions for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and they could ask him anything they wanted, and he would answer every single question. With Joe Biden, he had maybe one of those over 4 years, maybe 2 or 3. He had more than that as far as press conferences go, but they were heavily scripted to the point where you remember those cards that they would give him that there were a couple of photographers that actually got some pictures of him holding those press cards where it had in real big lettering the question that the member of the press was going to ask. And right next to that question was essentially a mugshot of that reporter. So Joe Biden would know what they actually looked like. And they took that picture that same day because the picture of them next to the question they were going to ask surely had the same outfit, because that way Joe Biden would know, oh, okay, this lady's wearing red. Okay, so, there she is. So he'd just point to her, and then he would just read the question as she's reading the question, or as she's vocalizing the question to him from the press corps. You can't make this shit up. It was absolutely crazy.
We've learned is that even when the American people realized after the Hur report and after the disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump that Joe Biden was in mental decline, his staff, we learned from Anita Dunn this week, made the decision not to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. Even when the American people were demanding a cognitive test, they made the decision, the ones who were running the country, that they were not going to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. And I think that is pretty overwhelming evidence that they feared what the results of that test would be.
I think he did literally whatever they wanted him to.
Find out about who was running the country. I mean,
remember there were a couple of times that somebody asked Joe Biden something and he answered the question. He's like, "Oh no, I'm going to get in trouble for that," or somebody would ask him something and he says, "Well, I can't answer that because I'm going to get in trouble if I do."
And after the Robert
Because he had
Hur
fucking
interview
handlers.
was released,
he had people telling him what to do.
A day or so later, we learned that Joe Biden had prostate cancer. But, I've got the Kevin
I don't know if I heard about that.
medical report in front of me right
cancer?
now. There's no mention of any mental decline. There's no mention of any prostate cancer. Why suddenly do we learn this after the Robert Hur tapes were released?
Why indeed?
Well, we've watched the Hur tapes, and they're a disaster. You understand watching the tapes why Robert Hur wrote that. I mean, that was scary. If Americans could watch that tape, and hopefully we can make that public, they would be concerned that this guy was president of the United States, had control of the nuclear football. But at the end of the day, with Dr. O'Connor, we deposed him. We brought him in for a deposition. He pled the fifth. We asked Dr. O'Connor, "Were you ever told to lie about Joe Biden's health?" He couldn't answer that question. He pled the fifth to avoid self-incrimination.
Oh my God!
What we found about Dr. O'Connor is he
pled the fucking fifth over that?
Doing a cognitive test. He supposedly said a cognitive test was not important, even though every president in my lifetime has taken cognitive tests. And we also believe that he supposedly did not check the president for prostate cancer. Every man over 50, including myself, I'm 52, takes a
Look, man,
a
Trump
PSA
takes a cognitive test. He's literally got 500 IQ.
every time they
no
get
shit.
blood work done.
No
So
joke.
the story doesn't add up with respect to Dr. Connor. It
512.
reeks of a political cover-up,
IQ's
a cover-up
512.
of a president in declining health.
So do you think that this was an all-out effort by the Democrats?
You know what the Democrats are going to say? Well, Biden's still alive now, isn't he? His health can't be in that much decline because he's still with us.
Keep their grip on power, even though they knew that the leader in charge, Joe Biden, really did not have the capacity to keep going, and then they actually encouraged him to run for another term?
They did, and then they staged a coup, and they railroaded his ass. Kamala Harris just came right in and said, nope, we're going to take over from here. That was absolutely shocking last year when they did that, when they're just no delegates. And what really blew my mind, if you remember back to 2020 when Kamala Harris was running the first time against Joe Biden and all the others, she had 0 delegates when she dropped out of the presidential race. 0. Now, how many are there total? There's well over 1,000, isn't there? Or maybe even 2,000. I don't remember how many total delegate votes that there are when the Democrats are running for the primaries, but I know it's got to be over 1,000 in total. She had none, not a single one. And then she just, of course, she became the DEI vice president because she had the right looks, she was the right gender, the right color, and all that. And then she became the vice president. And then, we all know how the story goes. But by last summer, they just, sorry, Biden, you're not going to run because that first debate you had against Trump was an absolute disaster. I think they set him up for that, to be honest with you, because it was weird that the debate was so early. Wasn't that in June of 2024? When Trump and Biden debated the first time? I mean, debates don't usually happen until, late August, early September, when they do the first of 3 debates. And it was just really weird, man. Something just didn't sit right. And for him to just get absolutely eviscerated so badly, and then Kamala took over and started down the campaign trail, and then they realized, oh, yeah, dude, she's just as bad as she was in 2020. Like, there is absolutely no way that this is going to work out. So we're going to do something on July 13th, something that might, that the American people might be horrified to see on national television, on live TV. Thank God that the Lord was watching out over Trump, and an absolute miracle happened that day. But they absolutely intended on that happening. I mean, there's no doubt about that at all, because the whole Democratic Party is in just disaster mode. They have been going all the way back to 2020, arguably probably going back to 2016, to be honest. I mean, they've turned absolutely evil since then. Just lies and cover-ups and more lies and just trying to get everybody brainwashed and on the DEI agenda and gender this and transgender that, and men are women now, women are men now. It's just absolute lunacy. Latinx, and I mean, it just goes on and on forever. It's absolutely
it looks
crazy,
like
man.
it, and that's what's the most shocking about this whole thing. This didn't just happen around the time of the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. This happened, a year prior to that, and yet this small inner circle wanted to keep this man in the Oval Office, even though they knew he couldn't perform the duties of President of the United States for another 4 years. That's what's so disappointing about all of this, and what you see with the last 90 days, that's when I think the auto pen was abused the most, Maria. The last 90 days after Donald Trump wins the election and you're in that lame duck period, they start cranking stuff through that auto pen like crazy. Pardons, thousands of pardons, and executive orders whose sole purpose of these executive orders was to Trump-proof the Trump administration, to make it harder to get federal employees to come back to work, to make it harder to eliminate agencies like the Department of Education. So that's why this investigation is important. We believe that there's a possibility that a lot of these executive orders and pardons can be declared null and void in a court of law.
So you're saying that those pardons may not be legal?
I mean, yeah, the pardons may not be legal. The whole auto pen thing, I don't think that any federal judge, I don't think even the Supreme Court's going to overturn all those auto pen signings, because think about it. They're going to have to go all the way back to when it started. Auto pen didn't just start with Biden. It goes all the way back to like the 1960s or 1940s or some shit. They've been using auto pen for a really long time. That's just one of those random things that the people just don't know about the goings on with the federal government. Just like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she revealed that members of Congress don't have to be personally present to vote on shit. She was one of those people that, like, when she went into Congress and she learned that, she kind of blew the lid open on that, which technically people probably knew, experts knew, but your everyday Americans who just go to work, 9-to-5 job Americans, they didn't know that. that you as a member of Congress can send in somebody on your behalf to sit in there and vote for you. It's unbelievable. And she also discovered a roll call. I think that's what it was. It's roll call. So as a member of Congress, you're sitting there on the House floor, and there's a bill that's coming up. So the Speaker of the House is like announcing, okay, we got this bill on the floor. Do we have the yays? Do we have the nays? Well, any member of Congress can stand up and demand a roll call, in which case that every single member of Congress who votes on this bill has to be standing there and present. And they have to verbally speak their name on the House floor. So she became a real problem with the establishment when she first got in and realized that she had the power to do that. So when these bills that would come up on the House floor for a vote that she didn't agree with, she would make a roll call announcement, and it would essentially just jam up everything they were doing. But anyway, I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the hugest fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm just saying, like, you know, if you don't like her very much, she's done a few good things out there, just to say the least, you know.
Legitimate?
I am saying that, Maria. And if you look at Joe Biden's one interview he's given,
I hope it happens, but
in
I don't think they're gonna do
post-presidency
it.
about the auto pen was
really
with the
hope
New
they do,
York
though.
Times, and he
All those
admitted to the
pardons.
New York Times that they wouldn't, that they, that he just delegated that to staff.
Look, this whole, what was it called? Preemptive pardon? Is that what they did? Like with regard to Anthony Fauci or whatever, like Joe Biden pardoned him, even though he hadn't even been indicted for anything. Anthony Fauci wasn't indicted for anything. He wasn't at the time when that pardon was signed. Of course, he was probably accused of doing quite a bit. Of course, the American public, they've been accusing him of all kinds of shit going back to 2020. No. Going back to like the 1980s with the whole AIDS shit. I mean, he was a demon back then. And for him to issue him a pardon over something that didn't even happen yet, I mean, that's like Minority Report pre-crime bullshit. It doesn't make any sense that a president could actually sign a pardon for somebody over crimes that haven't even been filed or like, they don't exist. There are no indictments against them. What the hell is there to pardon them over? That didn't make sense to me. So I don't know if they might at least try to get that overturned. That would certainly be nice. But I'm no expert.
Unbelievable.
What do I know?
All right, we will leave it there. Mr. Chairman, great to see you. We'll be following your work, sir. Thank you.
All right. Yep. We'll have to see what comes of that.
James
So
Comer. Stay with us.
we'll just
Miranda
move on to the next one from here. This